Cominciata la partita? Adesso? Sì. Perfetto.
The North Curve. The North Curve.
Ciao Canada! There's never a better time to sit back and assess things while on a break or a holiday. As the Italian Serie A takes its break to adhere to international duty, we here at the North Curve take the time to assess the progress of our beloved Lazio. So without any further ado, benvenuti and welcome to another edition of the North Curve. Michael Mascio here in Canada, joined by a returning champion in Cathal Mullan from Ireland, or as we've affectionately have come to know him as just Caxi from Lazio land. Caxi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Michael?
Doing pretty good. I'm enjoying the break and time to rest the head and think about where we're headed this season. And we're also joined today from another gentleman from Sweden. Today, all through the magic of online chat, thank God for that. The analytical one, as I've come to know him, Mr. Cash is here, our second guest ever from Sweden. Cash, welcome to the North Curve.
Thank you very much, Michael. Yeah, I'm Cash, calling from Stockholm. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. I've been a Lazio fan for a very, very long time. Back in the days of Gascoigne, actually, and Signori. That's the time that I got my eyes open for Lazio, and it's been like this thing ever since.
And there's a lot of Swedish contingency, in especially in Lazio support, and that's going even to the days of Sven-Goran Eriksson. I remember sitting down with Susan when we were in Rome, another big Lazio fan. How is it that you guys maintain such a strong support even after a guy like Sven's left?
I remember when I was a bit younger that we had this show on Swedish Channel 3 that was called... I just dropped the name, but we had like this weekly show where they showed at least one game each Sunday, and like this whole setup around it with Thomas Nordahl, a famous footballer, hosting this show, always like having great shows, and I don't know, just kept on being a thing for many Swedes to support Lazio, I guess.
And you're also one of the lucky ones that gets to travel on occasion to Rome to watch our beloved Lazio play. How many games actually have you gone to see? And talk about your most recent experience.
I don't really know how many I've been to, but the last one was, of course, a crazy one. I mean, everyone watched the game on TV, knows what happened, but being there and you know, getting to see that final goal in the 93rd minute was just, you know, it was a bit too much. The video that everyone's seen, you know, shows exactly what it was about.
Well, I'll probably use this point in the conversation to post that video one more time. And you were saying it was your brother-in-law that actually took the video while you were inside the Stadio Olimpico for the last minute in the derby as well.
Yeah, he traveled down with me. We went there together. It was his first game, and yeah, it was. He managed to keep his camera with him through the gates and in the stands, and yeah, just, you know, we can all just witness what mood everyone were in.
And it's a magical experience, and that's the whole reason why we get together to try to bring out the lazialità that we're all asked to do from wherever we are in the world. And earlier on in the week, Cathal posted something very important. Cathal, you can kind of give an intro to it. It was along the lines of taking a step back and analyzing our Lazio today versus our Lazio of last year. So if you want to elaborate more on what we discussed and where we can go from that.
Yeah, well, basically, from where I was coming from was looking at the performances, I guess, since that incredible derby win and the manner of how we managed to achieve those results and the similarity in those results made me really question the differences that this team are showing to the one of the previous years. So really I just asked this simple question on the Lazio Fever forum. Is this side better than last year's side? And just a simple question for people to go with their gut and not think too much about it, but just go with their instinct and give their opinion where they think this Lazio was actually better than last year. So that was just a simple question based on achieving a number of good results in very easy fashion, I guess.
And then on the surface, when I did read it, it did seem like a no-brainer. Of course, this year's Lazio would be better than last year's Lazio. But then we started to take a step back, and this is Q Cash in this situation. He had some stats to throw out that maybe suggested maybe we weren't as good as we thought. Cash, do you still stand on your point that maybe we aren't better or the same as last year?
Well, I think that, first of all, it's extremely hard to compare, teams from year to year since, players change and tactics change and so on. But to say that we are better, I think that, that should have been shown in numbers of goals scored, how many points we've taken, how many points we've taken at home compared to away. And I just struggle to see that we are better. I mean, we're doing great. That's not the issue. I mean, you can see that from the standings as well as on the pitch. We win some games that are tight. I think, for example, Bologna away was a crazy good game by us. But I think it's a little bit too, going too far to say that we are better than last year. I can't really see how what makes us better than last year.
And that was your stat that you put out after 10 rounds in Serie A. 22 points were from last year, and we got the majority of them at home, versus 21 points this year, where we've only managed to couple 8 points at home. So despite playing one more home game so far this season compared to the last, at this point, we're 13-6 in goals versus last year, forward and against, and then 16-8 forward and against this year. So we're scoring more. That's a positive. There's a lot of positives to take from that.
Yeah, there are lots of positives. And I don't think that's the issue. But I mean, overall, Serie A isn't that much better in quality than it was last year. And for example, the first game where, we got a very good result against Milan away. But if you look at, how Milan did around those rounds, maybe we should have gotten all three in that game to actually say that we're better. Then we would have beaten one of the major teams away. And, yeah, that would be a great result. And, of course, the derby makes everything a lot brighter than it necessarily need to be at this point.
Yeah, I definitely want to touch on the derby. I think that was a major thing that showed how far back we were last year versus this year. Maybe we might not be as good in quality as some of us might think, but just winning the derby, and this is what I was saying last year after we lost, the whole mental aspect of losing the derby, it affects your performance in games when you should, in fact, win. So games maybe that we have no business winning, like Parma, where the visiting team will just clam up and basically take anything they can from the game, and somehow we manage to steal the 3 points, and that sort of atmosphere shows, I think, the progression, and not to mention our depth. Cathal, would you think the major thing for us going forward this year, which makes us better than last year, is our depth, or what is it for you that you argue in favor of the fact that we are definitely better than last year?
I probably disagree in terms of depth. I don't think I need to go into mention the names that have left in the summer, but I think in certain areas we had a lot more depth if we kept a hold of some of the players who brought us great success last year. So I don't think it's a question of depth. For me, it's a question of character. And I guess at the start of the season, I was, maybe up until the last 3 or 4 games, even after the derby, I wasn't too sure about whether our character has changed much. Yes, the way we won the derby was incredible, huge game. We managed to overturn the previous 5 defeats and stop our main rivals from setting a new precedent. But when you look at how we succumbed that lead against Milan, where we could have actually had 3 or 4 before the half-time break, those things still kind of ground me and made me think that maybe in terms of character we haven't changed. But when you look at how we've been really clinically taking points off them, and it was okay, I know we didn't get all 3 points at home to Catania, but that was more of a tactical thing for me and more of a tactical mistake from Ria letting them back into the game in the second half. But in terms of the character of the team and what Ria's really given to us this year, and what people like Kosa and Cici are providing outside of their actual football ability, I think that's where we've really come on leaps and bounds. And the point I made in that forum topic was that I'm not actually sure whether in terms of quality we're a better team, or even if we've got more depth. But what I am sure about is that we have a strong character this year, and I think it's picking us up a lot of points that we were losing way too easily last year, and that might be the difference this season. Okay, we've Europa League and other things which could detract from our performances in the league, and our home form has been softened, and that is something that suggests that could become an issue. But we've got the character to overcome those obstacles, and playing every 3 or 4 days doesn't seem to be too big of a problem at the moment, which makes me think that ultimately this last season was better.
Well, playing every 3 days kind of, I look into the sense that, yeah, it is a depth thing, because last year there's no way we would have been able to manage to play on all fronts. And I think that's why we were so successful last year, is that we only had to focus on one game a week. And when you say that we lost players, I'm kind of interested, besides maybe Lichtsteiner or Zarate, who would you say we're missing this year and that we should have kept a hold of?
I mean, I don't think, looking at Zarate's performances at Inter, I don't think you can say we're missing much. And the same with Flockery at Parma, I don't think you can say we're missing much looking at how they're playing at the club they're currently at. But they're dynamic players. I mean, I'm going to throw in a comparison I use quite a lot, but what our next fixture is, if you look at Napoli and the dynamic players they have, the midfielders can run from box to box all day long, the strikers can come back and defend and help out in the midfield, and everyone works together as a unit. I don't think we have those players now that work together in units. I think by not having Zarate or Flockery in the squad, or Lichtsteiner to bomb forward, I know his crosses are terrible and everyone comments on that, but not having these players being able to get into certain positions and work as units, I think we've lost something in terms of depth there. We're now relying on Hernandez being a real creative guru and linking the midfield to the forwards, and we're relying on Klose to work some magic and score goals, and Cisse to do the same. And so I think we have lost something by loaning out Zarate and Flockery. I really do think we've lost something, but I do have confidence that Rocky and maybe even Kozak the odd time can come in and give something extra. So we've lost players I think would make our overall play better, but I still think we have enough numbers, and we know this is a separate issue, but we still have the numbers and the quality in those numbers to take on 2 or 3 competitions. So I think, my point would be that we've lost individuals who really give something more in terms of our team play. What we've lost in that aspect, we've gained in and gained more in characters of experience. And it goes back to what Matito and Ray, like I said, pre-season, we've got characters who've got experience, who have been on the international stage, that when they get to something like Europa League, it's really, really something pretty small for these guys. I'm not diminishing the competition, but they can handle it, and they can handle it a lot better than those who we had previously. So that's what I would suggest is going on here, and that's why we're able to handle European competition that bit better. But if you look at the results in Europe, they're still not at the standard I'd say the 3 of us would like them to be.
Oh, for sure. In Europa League-wise, definitely we shouldn't even be contending with a Romanian team like Vaslui for a second spot. The group should have been sewed up by now, in my opinion. But from a character point, I do agree with you that we do have character and the experience to help win these types of ugly games where it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So, for example, a game like Parma last year probably would have headed for a 0-0 draw, because we've seen that so many times, Lazio at home not being able to break through a visiting defense. Cash, would you say we've improved in terms of player personnel and depth? Would you disagree with Cathal? Where do you stand on this subject?
Well, I think first and foremost you have to mention Marchetti at this point, because I think that's one of the major improvements. I think Muslera was a good goalie, and I mean we all somehow had a soft spot for him, coming from Uruguay, and like having a couple of very, very bad games, and then being able to turn this around and become some kind of a fan favorite for a while. But I think Marchetti has brought exactly what Caxi was speaking about earlier, which is some experience and professionalism. He doesn't do the mistakes that Muslera used to do, and he's actually he's shown to be a great security at the back. But if we look at players individually, I think that if Lazio wanted to be stronger this year compared to last year, they should have kept some of the players that we let go. So